A Podcast Has No Name, with your hosts, Doug Harrelson and Luke Aldridge.
Hey guys, and welcome back to another episode of A Podcast Has No Name. How we doing today, Luke?
Doing pretty good. Just we're kind of doing a different format today. Kind of jumping into some lore, and we're still, super. I'm still super excited about Night of the Seven Kingdoms, and that was really enjoyable. But we're ready to move on to our next phase. Today, I'm continuing with the soda water thing. I'm drinking a sparkling ice lifesavers green apple.
Oh.
That's what I have today.
Kroger's not paying.
What about you, Doug?
Kroger's not paying me for this, but I've got a Kroger sparkling water, Mandarin orange, a little bit of bubbles. Help you out. So this is going to be our first true lore-based episode. Getting a little bit away from just the TV shows. Definitely way more book lore will be discussed here than in previous episodes. So this might be maybe not the episode for everyone, but the ones that it's for, I think you guys are really going to enjoy this stuff. We're going to be talking a little bit about the First Blackfyre Rebellion, but before that, we do actually have some television and future show movie and HBO product news to discuss. So we'll start that off with the new Aegon's Conquest. We had been hearing rumors of a show being written by Mattson Tomlin. If I'm mispronouncing that first name, I do apologize. He worked on one of the Batman films. But now there is rumors of Bo Willimon. Do you know how it's pronounced? I'm not 100% sure. He's the Andor writer.
That sounds right.
He's one of the writers for Andor. I don't know if he's the head writer or just one of the writers for Andor. But he is apparently writing a Game of Thrones movie, and a lot of people are tying that as an Aegon's Conquest movie. We do not know entirely all the details yet, but it does feel like Aegon's Conquest has the most momentum of any other project right now.
Yeah, I kind of heard similar things to you. We have kind of dueling writers, dueling formats. From what I heard, the show was coming with Mattson. What was his name? Mattson
Tomlin.
Mattson Tomlin. From what that was coming from HBO, but then the movie was the latest, and that's kind of coming from Warner Brothers. Of course, there's the merger. Merger hasn't happened yet, though. And from what I hear, it could take a couple years to kind of solidify. So I think it's still kind of up in the air whether we get either. I did shout out to Talking Thrones. That's where we get our latest Game of Thrones Song of Ice and Fire gossip. Watched a video on that, and there's a lot of very salty people kind of throwing shade at Mattson Tomlin on social media. And while I understand we were all disappointed with season 8 of Game of Thrones and this latest developments with Hot D season 2, a little bit some of them were a little threatening and personal, and I think it's a little strange that people are already jumping to conclusions. It's like, this is not Dan and Dave yet. We haven't seen the material. A lot of these people, I bet, aren't even book readers. They're just trolls. They're not even critics. They're trolls. And I think everybody's entitled to opinion, but when all you have is a rumor of a show and you already start going after the writer that you know nothing about, you don't have a script to even criticize, I think that's jumping the gun a little bit. What do you think, Doug?
Oh, I 100% agree. Before we had what A Night of the Seven Kingdoms was for season 1, there could have been reason for skepticism about this show or this previous show not being fantastic. And we were proven very, very wrong. I think you need to wait until the writers put something on the screen before we crucify them for the work, because we haven't seen it yet. I'll admit, like, I understand some of the frustrations that fans have had with some of the Game of Thrones projects that have come out. Example, Season 8 Game of Thrones. And I'm not ready to batch Season 2 House of the Dragon or the show House of the Dragon with Season 8 Game of Thrones. I don't think that is a even remotely fair criticism.
No.
Again, it comes off as more like a B- C+ project, the second season of House of the Dragon, in a lore that we expect A's in, versus Season 8 Game of Thrones was D- or F material. It just was not good at all. It was very, very disappointing. So I think we need to at least give them the benefit of the doubt before we start. Me and you were both a huge fan of Andor in particular. So if it is potentially the movie written by the Andor writer, that could be really awesome. And in particular, I thought the dialogue was very, very strong in Andor. So if and I even said in a previous episode before this news broke out that the writing reminded me of Game of Thrones style writing, of George R. R. Martin's sort of characters have layers of complexity to them. So I think that he might be very uniquely qualified for this position.
Mm-hmm. I'm interested to see who our Luthen Rael is going to be. That speech in season 1
one of my favorite characters of all time. Yeah.
Oh, it's all right. Emmy worthy, not Oscar.
There we go.
I remembered, but I have a quick take on back to that Dan and Dave stuff. Like we kind of have the full story now with Dan and Dave, and they didn't care at the end. They were trying to escape so they can do Star Wars, which they didn't even get. So as far as Condal goes, kind of sounds like that's grouped in with the Suits, up at HBO. That doesn't excuse him. He could have still resigned or something, but I'm not even ready to completely write off Ryan Condal yet. Like there's not good signs, but I think we see how this plays out. Maybe George is in maybe Condal's learned his lesson. We'll see. I think let's decide that after season 3 at least,
season 3 is
plenty of problems
100% make it or break it. 100% make it or break it for House of the Dragon. I do think that the network handicapped Ryan and Sarah Hess and all the other writers in season 2, but I don't think they're free of sin either. And I think both things can be true.
No.
But
right.
But Luke, that isn't the only news we got, right?
Yep. We got some other news. I'm actually even more excited about this news. So going back to Night of the Seven Kingdoms, we got some more casting choices. Of course, we have Peter Claffey and
Dexter San and Cell.
Yep.
I might be butchering his last name. I need to actually hear it pronounced out loud.
So, of course, I've figured out the time gap. It's 2 years. So we're still in within range of the actors' ages. From what I hear, Dexter is sprouting up, as did we all when we were 10, 11, 12 years old. So it kind of works out perfectly for season 2. We'll see about season 3, but they're still in it. But the new casting choices we have 3 so far. Now, 2 of these names I'm not very familiar with. So first one is Lucy Boynton as Lady Rohan Weber. She is... I looked up some of her stuff, and she's done some Sword and Shield kind of period piece shows. I've personally never seen her in any of it. Now I think currently she's blonde, but she is a natural. She's a redhead. She kind of fits the description as a small frame, pretty with freckles and the red hair. And as far as the look, I'm on board. And I've watched a few interviews with her, and I think the accent's kind of there, and it's kind of hard to judge too much, but that actor seems par for the course. We have the other one I don't know a whole lot about was, I don't know if I'm pronouncing this right, Babu Kise. He was in, I think, one of the recent Alien movies, and he apparently won some awards for that performance. I saw a bit of it, and he's a good actor. My concern with this is sort of age. Now, when I think of Sir Benison Brown, I think of a contemporary uh, of Arlen of Pennytree, and Arlen of Pennytree would have been late. He's described in the books as late 50s, could be 60, somewhere around there. Babu Sise looks more like mid 40s, but he could have still been an adult that's far older than Dunk, but a little, a decade younger than Sir Arlen.
Yeah.
So yeah, and he Sir Arlen could have been in his 40s, and Bennis could have been 30, or what I'm saying. So I to me, it's like I hope I'm pleasantly surprised. It's a different choice, but I can't. This is kind of funny, but for some reason I pictured Billy Bob Thornton.
That makes sense because he's like, he's got like we don't want to get too much into the story, but like he's like somebody that like has sour leaf. Right. He's kind of a smelly, grimy head schneid.
He's rough around the edge.
Yeah, and Billy Bob Thornton could definitely excel in that kind of role.
Right. But that obviously that would be way too expensive.
I do have one comment on the age thing though, because I do think it's easier to age someone up than age someone down. Does that make sense? Yeah. Like, for example, the actor that plays Corliss, Steve Toussaint, might be mispronouncing the last name.
Yeah.
If you see him out of wig and makeup, he looks like a much younger man. But once he is in character as Corliss Velaryon, he looks much more weathered and older, and they managed to make it completely seamless. When I saw him without all the hair and makeup for the first time, I was like, oh my goodness, there's no way that's Corliss.
Yeah, and that's a good point. So, I'm prepared to be pleasantly surprised by Babu Sise or Kise again.
That looks and feels like it's a soft C. Just based on the spelling, we could be wrong, but that looks and feels like the soft C.
I think so too. But as far as the third one, I am very excited. Spot on casting. So this is Peter Mullen playing Sir Eustace Osgrey, and I don't think it's giving too much away that he's going to be essentially Dunk's current employer in season 2, his temporary liege lord. He's serving him at the moment. I don't think that's given that too much away. It probably says it in the description, but he's a veteran of So Peter Mullen most recently was King Durin III in Rings of Power, so he's already played a major figure in a major fantasy franchise, so that's already a good sign. He's been in Harry Potter, a second huge franchise. He's one of the Death Eaters, and I think he played the farmer drug dealer in Ozark, which I saw a few years ago, and he was great in that. I think he's from Scotland, but his accent has changed. He's done an American and English accent and all that. But his age is perfect. I can already see him with the mustache. Just a great actor. I mean, I'm just very excited about that one. Any thoughts on that, Doug?
So the only experience I have with him is as the Death Eater in Harry Potter. And there's two big things. Number one, that was a long time ago now. That would have been Deathly Hallows Part 1. Mm-hmm. So I would have still been in college at the time. And the character, I'm used to the characterization from the graphic novels, the big burly mustache, versus Peter Mullen in Harry Potter, clean shaven,
clean cut, yeah.
But I will give the benefit of the doubt to HBO and greater Game of Thrones production, because if there's one department that has not missed even once, it feels like it's the casting department. I just when have they failed us? So I'm gonna trust the process and see what comes out on the other end. Even if we've had trouble with writing and production at other areas,
Right.
casting has been spot on. Lucy Boynton, if we're mispronouncing it, please call us out in the comments. We
think
would
that's
like to
right.
put some respect on their names. She was also in Bohemian Rhapsody, which I didn't notice that until I was doing a little bit of extra research and stuff. Unfortunately, it's been so long since I've seen it, and I saw that movie in theaters. I actually loved that movie, but I cannot recall her character in hindsight now. It's been a few years since then, so perhaps we're going to have a little Bohemian Rhapsody night at some point in my near future. Make that happen.
Right.
But
yeah,
we do have more to discuss, don't we, Luke?
we sure do. I think we're gonna start talking about Blackfyre Rebellion now, our main topic.
Do you yield, Blackfyre?
So,
Sorry.
yeah, yeah. So you're gonna hear about these folks that Egg was talking about. So, anyways, the origins of the Blackfyre Rebellion started during the reign of King Aegon IV, otherwise known as Aegon the Unworthy. So, when he took the throne, he was married. Actually, before, he did not take the throne till I think age 36. He actually married his sister, his only sister, and
Queen Nerys?
yes, Nerys, yes. He married her, but she had a better relationship with their other brother, named Aegon the Dragon Knight.
Aemon, not Aegon.
I meant to say.
I know you know it.
Aemon. Yeah, you're good. So, Aemon the Dragon Knight was kind of the picture perfect, ideal Kingsguard, ideal knight, the ideal chivalry, very respectful person, and very pious. And his sister was kind of frail and kind of got along with him better. Aegon, again, taking the throne at 36, was already very promiscuous, we'll say that. Early on, his cousin, he actually got her pregnant. Now, it was not known at the time, but this was... So, going back, this was Baelor the Blessed's sister. And he had the sisters that he locked up so so he wouldn't be tempted by them. One of them got pregnant, and it turned out, so at the time, she would not name the father, and the son that she had was named at the time Daemon Waters. Waters is it being a bastard name. Of course, down the road, turned out the father, and that was Dana the Defiant was her name. Aegon's cousin. So, turns out Aegon was the father. He was getting into trouble early with those things. So he had 9 major mistresses, but it was told that he claimed to have been taken to bed 900 plus women in his lifetime. That was kind of, and his rule was really bad. He would basically, his hand to the king, his small council, he hired them, or he brought them on for small favors. He was very corrupt. There was basically everything revolved around, will you let me sleep with your daughters? Will you let your daughter be my mistress? I'll give you honors and titles. He even gave Lord Butterwell a dragon's egg so he could sleep with all 3 of his daughters. That's just a little side note, but
an important note for
I won't
later.
get too far into yeah, exactly. That down the road.
We'll talk to you in season 3, guys. We'll talk to you about it in season 3.
Exactly. So he had 4 great bastards by certain mistresses. Firstborn son was way before Daemon, was Daeron II, who would later be known as Daeron the Good.
He is the current ruling king in A Knight of the Seven Kingdoms. For context and timeline, we're about 15 years ahead of... or actually, before the rebellion, we're probably closer to like 20-ish years before the before
20 to
the
30,
events
really.
of,
If we're talking
yeah,
about,
fair enough,
yeah,
because all this happens over a span of years. Yeah.
yeah. So Daron the Good, or Daron the Second, is Egg. It's Egg's grandfather, the current reigning king. He's Baelor Breakspear and Makar's father, among others. Uh, so he's born early on, and at this time, Aegon is not king. So by the time Aegon becomes king, uh, Daron is a teenager or close to being an adult, and uh, so he's firstborn. He's trueborn heir, and later on, Aemon the Dragon Knight, Nera, and Daron the Good kind of formed a power block to quell some of Unworthy's his worst tendencies. They did not get along. Basically, one of his mistresses, they actually got him to send her away from court. And of course, that because they didn't get along, at some point, Aegon the Unworthy, it was later found out, he started a rumor that Daron was actually not born his true-born son, that he was born between from Nera and Aemon the Dragon Knight. And Aemon the Dragon Knight, there was a knight that said that aloud. Aemon the Dragon Knight challenged him to a duel, and he didn't die then, but later he died defending King Aegon. So that was his good brother. So, anyways, he had four great bastards after Daron. One was, of course, Daemon Blackfyre, who was born by Dana the Defiant, and at the time, Daemon Waters, but later became Daemon Blackfyre. Another was Aegor Rivers, otherwise known as Bittersteel, and he was born from Barba Bracken. Of course, then you have Brendan Rivers, also known as Bloodraven, who will be very important later. He was born from Melissa Blackwood. And the fourth great bastard was Shiara Seastar, who was born by Sereny of Lys. She was known for her beauty, and it was said that she was a sorcerer. So Daemon won a squire's tourney at age 12. When he won that tourney, King Aegon IV knighted him. So he was knighted at 12 years old, which was almost unheard of. Usually they're 14 or 15 when they get knighted in that world. But
he was noted as an exceptional warrior, like even at an early age.
Yeah, he was the like when he hit his prime, he was the pretty well known to be the fiercest warrior in the kingdom. But more importantly, Aegon gifted him the sword Blackfyre, which was Aegon the Conqueror's sword. And that is very significant because he didn't give it to his firstborn son and heir, Daron the Good.
And this sword had always been given to the next king. It had always been passed from king to king.
Exactly. Mm-hmm.
One of the reasons another character we'll talk about in a couple of weeks, Maegor the Cruel, was able to maintain his legitimacy despite the fact that he should not have been next in line to the throne, was because he wielded the sword Blackfyre. And from this point on, what did Daemon refer to himself at this point as?
From that point on, he changed his name from Daemon Waters to Daemon Blackfyre. So that was the birth of that name. Not that name for the sword, but that being a splinter branch from the Targaryens. And he recognized him as his son, which a lot of the bastards he didn't openly recognize at the time. Shortly after, a few years later, Aegon the Unworthy is so fat, so disgusting and fat, he's laying on a couch, can't even get up.
I mean, he lived nothing but a life of gluttony. Like, whether it was with sex, food, booze,
Yeah, and the sad part is that it was
all the seven deadly sins, all of them.
Right. And the sad part is, it said in his youth, he was actually not a bad warrior. He was very popular in court. He was your typical Targaryen in shape, but near the end, and especially once he took the throne, there was just no one to stop him. The only people that argued with him was Daeron, his wife, and his brother. But so Aegon is on his deathbed, and he decides to legitimize all his bastards, not just the great bastards, and but all of them. And the important part of that is that puts them technically in line for the throne. Now,
And among other
on the
titles
list.
and royalties and
Yeah,
financial gain.
He married. Yeah, he gave them the great bastards at least. He gave them incomes, places at court. He gave Daemon Blackfyre. He gave him lands. He gave him. He married him off to Rohan of Tyrosh, who I think she was the daughter of the leader of Tyrosh. I don't know the title of that, but the Archon of Tyrosh. So he gave him an important marriage as well. So, anyways, that's the last thing that Aegon the Unworthy does before he dies. Then he dies. So Daeron very quickly makes sure he gets to King's Landing, takes his father's crown.
Well, before we
and
continue on to Daeron's rule, I
Yeah.
actually do want to say a couple of
Sure,
things about
sure.
Aegon's rule. The mentioning the legitimizing of the bastards was the way it's written in World of Ice and Fire is he had to poison the realm with one last malicious act that would. The seeds of war are often planted years ahead of actual war because this moment of him legitimizing them is still nearly a decade before any rebellions ever occur. The realm will still eventually know some amount of peace. There's also a couple of things with the bastards that I really that are like trends that we see throughout the whole series. The rivalry between the Brackens and the Blackwoods is shown here again as Bitterstill and Bloodraven became like mortal enemies. Both were in love with another one of the great bastards, Sierra Seastar. She seemed to spurn Bittersteel, aka Aegor Rivers, but also known as Bittersteel, or more commonly known as Bittersteel, and preferred Brynden Rivers, aka Bloodraven. You may know him as the Three-Eyed Raven from the TV show Game of Thrones. He is also... He will play a role in seasons to come of A Knight of the Seven Kingdoms. He is a very significant character in the way the realm is put together at the current juncture. But it is again this and at one point back and forth, Aegon is giving property and dominion of a certain batch of land known as I forget whose teats exactly, but they named it after a woman's bosom, and he kept giving
Barbara's teeth,
yes, Barbara's teats,
and then Missy's teeth.
and then Missy's teats. He keeps moving back and forth depending on which mistress he was in favor with at the time, just sending it back. So whichever lord was letting him with his daughter, that would be the one that had rights to that piece of land for a while. I don't think that me and Luke are being dramatic when we say that this is probably the worst king in Westerosi history. And yes, we do know what Joffrey was. Joffrey was not capable of the ability to wreck the realm the way Aegon did. That is why you don't just get a nickname Aegon the Unworthy. You have to earn it. And, and I definitely feel like he did.
And I'll give a quick piece of back. His father, so Aegon the Unworthy's father, I don't want to get too far back, but his father was Viserys II. Viserys was only 14 when Aegon was born, so he didn't have that older father figure that was 20, 30 years older than him. That was my understanding, is that he kind of moved people around a little bit to keep Aegon away from certain people, so the family wouldn't be completely embarrassed, but he really didn't tell him, no, you can't do this. He was not stern enough with Aegon. He died.
No, you're completely right. Without spoiling House of the Dragon, potentially, the life in which his father went through is not necessarily one that makes you become a good father. It's one you're almost a little bit broken from. But the Dance of the Dragons had a terrible impact on the realm, and the Targaryen family, obviously, in particular. And you kind of see the ripples of that, where you get an Aegon the Unworthy to blossom.
Yeah, and Viserys II was thought to be a decent king, but he just didn't. He only ruled for. Now he was hand before he ruled, but he only ruled for I think a year or something like that. So
and he fell to a sudden illness. A lot of people later believe that Aegon poisoned him. That's what a lot of people.
You can't rule that out, and because he wanted to, and Aegon, he didn't want to be king because of he wanted to be in charge, or he wanted to make the realm right.
He wanted to be able to take whatever
king, so he could sleep with he could sleep with whoever he wants, and no one can tell him no. So it was a very strange upbringing, and I will one note the rivalry between Bittersteel and Bloodraven over Shiara Seastar. She completely spurned Bittersteel, from what we understand. But even Bloodraven, he proposed to her countless times. She would never become his wife. She turned him down. But she was like, you could be one of my boyfriends. That's essentially what it was. They were kind of
friends with benefits
kind of situation. Yeah. So that's about all I have to say on that. On Aegon's reign, and I'll let Doug take it from here.
And Aegon's reign was kind of, and you see this theme if you ever read the book Fire and Blood. It talks about how the Dance of the Dragon, the seeds for the Dance of the Dragons, began years before the actual Dance of the Dragons, and the same thing is true here for these rebellions, or this rebellion in particular. Mm-hmm. So we finally, Daeron II, later known as Daeron the Good, father to Baelor. And he immediately gets rid of all the suck-ups to Aegon, Lake Spittles, and the ones that were only in because they benefited Aegon directly, not because they benefited the realm. Daeron, by all measures, was a good king. Unfortunately, sometimes a snowball has already gained momentum, and you can't really stop it. And that is a lot of how what happens next. But Daeron also does something that was actually good for the realm, even though it did upset some of the other lords and ladies across the realm. First off, he did, in fact, marry a Martell, but he also married his sister Daenerys to another Martell and started to have more of Dornish influence in the council and actually brought Dorne into the Seven Kingdoms. It wasn't until Aegon the Conqueror never conquered Dorne. This is the first time that Dorne is actually part of the Seven Kingdoms. So then just to say that the Iron Islands is now part of the Riverlands, it's fine. It's still 7. We've got to honor the 7, of course. So, we finally have it. But Dorne has certain practices and certain things that they want to do in the way they execute their laws and their taxes and their things. And they are kind of given a little bit of an exception to rule the way they have always ruled, while the rest, the other 6 kingdoms, kind of have to follow what the crown's laws are. And so this starts to really upset a lot of the other lords and ladies, and this is where more discontent starts to build. And over time, there's just this continuous tension between that. At any point, Daemon could have tried to make a push, but he never did. Instead, just it's bubbling under the surface. And then it comes to the attention of Daeron through many people believe Bloodraven, and if you know what we know about Bloodraven's future and his ability to see things, i.e. the Three-Eyed Raven, it is believed that he was able to spy on Daemon before the rebellion could take hold. So Daeron sends his men to arrest Daemon, but he is alerted in time and is able to get away. And at this point, Daemon Blackfyre sees this as his opportunity to incite the rebellion. This is where, and this is 8 to 10 years into Daeron's rule that we finally get the first actual true act of rebellion, where he makes a claim for the throne.
Yes.
12 years. 12 years. 12 years. Yeah. So it's 184 AC,
yes,
and then
184 to 196.
Yeah. So in 196, we get the beginning of the rebellion. Luke will tell you
Yeah.
more about the battles and
So-
stuff, because I think that he's a little bit more well versed on each of the battles and stuff that happened in this war. While I think I do a pretty good job at the political end.
I'll throw this in there from from the reign of Daron. I'll just throw some names out there. So Daron was married to Miriam Martell.
Yes,
That was the name of his wife, and she again is the mother of Baelor Breakspear and make Mirkar, and then Daenerys, the one Daeron's sister. She ended up marrying Meryn Martell, who was Prince of Dorne,
and Meryn
and that
Martell,
was one of the things they got to keep.
And Meryn Martell actually had the water gardens at Sunspear made in
Yes.
her honor, like or to for her. So the water gardens that you
To make
see
it
in
feel
Game
more
of Thrones, where they're
comfortable. Yeah.
relaxing, that was a gift for this Daenerys Targaryen, not the other Daenerys Targaryen. We'll get there in like
Right.
100 or so
Daenerys.
years. We'll be there.
Maybe your namesake. But it was they got to keep the title of prince, and that was another thing the lords got angry with. It's like, well, why can't I be prince? You know, I'm just a lord.
Yeah.
That was one of the
Dornish
it's
exceptions.
semantics, but it was
Yeah.
it was one of the major concessions and that negotiation took 2 years, so it was hard in the making. And my personal opinion, I don't think Daron, he did bring Dornishmen to court. I don't think he meant to favor Dorne forever. I think he just realized that during his reign, to bring Dorne in, that was a tough negotiation.
No.
And I mean, they've been trying to bring Dorne into the fold for years, and he had to give them a lot of concessions. And I think he thought, if I can make it through my reign, and bring a lot of Dornishmen to court and make them feel welcome, then in 10, 20 years or 20 years or so, by the time of my son's reign, everything will even out, and they'll kind of be on par with the other lords. They won't seem favored, but that. There's nothing to say that that's what Daron thought. That's just my impression, considering he was a pretty decent king.
But this combination of discontent is all rooted, or not all rooted, but a lot of it had to do with Aegon also adding to the fuel of calling Daron a false king, calling him the bastard of his brother and his wife, or his sister wife. This created the seeds of a rebellion that could actually, because many characters still believe that Daron was not the son of Aegon IV. And we'll never know. George is leaving this open to interpretation. But that gives just a little bit of seed of doubt, as we've even seen in the conflict in House of the Dragon, can incite entire wars that kill millions. And once again, the Targaryens right at the middle of it.
Right. And before I get into the actual events of the rebellion proper, the understanding I get from researching all this is that a lot of people projected their greed, their hopes and dreams, their issues with the crown or with Daron. They just projected all that onto Daemon because they knew that was the best chance they got of getting this extra land or having this important position at court. A lot of Stormland lords,
Well, they also had issues with the
Reach.
Dornish, too, so...
That's what I'm saying. So a lot of Stormland and Dornish Stormland and
Reach.
lords from the Reach were like, I'd like to be able to raid into Dorne. I miss the days when they were the enemy, and I feel disrespected. So all these people push, but some of the biggest voices, there was two big voices. There was, of course, Bittersteel, or Aegor Rivers. I don't know why I was blanking on his real name, but actually married. Daemon had, I think, 7 children, and he married one of those children. He married his daughter. And so that kind of brought them closer. But there's another key figure who was, at the beginning, was Daemon's top general. His name was Quentin Ball. He was also known as Fireball. And yep, Fireball. Quick. I'll tell you why he was bitter, even though his name wasn't Bittersteel. He was the master at arms at the Red Keep, so he taught a lot of the bastards. He taught Bloodraven and Daemon Blackfyre how to fight. He was the master of arms there, and he was promised by Aegon the Unworthy that when a spot came open in the Kingsguard, he would get that spot. Of course, the spot didn't come open while Aegon was king, but
And Daeron had
when
no
Daeron,
intention of honoring.
yep, no, he had no intention. He probably judged the character and was like, he's a good fighter, but I don't trust him, and rightfully so, as we find out later on. But a spot did come open during the beginning of Daeron's reign, and he did not give that to Quentin Ball. So Quentin was already angry, and he was pretty close to Daemon Blackfyre. He was one of those two biggest voices encouraging him to declare as king in rebellion against Daeron. So, as Doug mentioned, when Bloodraven told Daeron Daemon's intentions, Daeron sent his Kingsguard to arrest him. Through means that we don't know about, Quentin Ball is the one that got him out of the castle. He could have used some of those tunnels that Maegor built, kind of that we saw in the Game of Thrones show, the little tunnels behind there, but we just don't know. We're not given that information. But the point is, Quentin Ball got Daemon out. Daemon got away. He rounded up lords. He did not get any major houses, but he got second sons. He got a lot of second sons to join his cause. He got smaller lords to join his cause.
Hoping to rise their station.
Yep, exactly. And this is what I was talking about, with a lot of malcontents, a lot of people projecting their greed and what they hope to gain from this onto Daemon Blackfyre. So, as far as the opening skirmishes, Quentin Ball, again, was kind of his top general and his foremost soldier at the beginning. There was a battle at the gates of Lannisport, and here we're bringing the Lannisters. He defeated the Lannisters at the gates of Lannisport, and he killed Lord Lefford at the gates, Lefford Lannister. After that, he had another battle with the Lannisters, with the main Lannister, Lord Daemon Lannister, also called the Grey Lion.
Already been mentioned in the Nine Seven Kingdoms?
Yeah, mentioned in the Seven Kingdoms. That's who Baelor is.
He was unhorsed by Sir Arlen of Pennytree.
Yeah. Who is the Grey Lion? Who's that? So again, he defeated him. Now Daemon Lannister did not die as Lefford did, but he did have to pull his forces back. So we got 2 victories by Quentin Ball. And his third victory, he defeated the forces of Lady Penrose at the Mander River. And he killed all of her sons except the youngest. He showed mercy on the youngest and said, "You can keep your youngest son." So at that moment, it's not looking great. It's Daeron, even though he has the upper hand, this is not just a little skirmish. This is actually, he's defeating major armies. And this is a moment where the momentum is almost at its high. But shortly after that, Quentin Ball decides to get a drink of water by the river somewhere. We're not told officially, but it's suspected that Bloodraven and his Raven's Teeth, which is his personal guard of 200 or 300 archers, one of them shot him with an arrow and killed him. So that's one of his 2 major generals, other than Bitter. So one dies. He's still got Bittersteel. The main battle where this all ends, it's called the Battle of the Redgrass Field. And it's not too far from King's Landing. It's not at the gates, but this is the battle. The stakes are high. If Daemon wins this battle, it's a clear road to King's Landing. And then we're talking about a siege. And he very well, if he wins this battle, he could be king. So when the battle starts, Aegon and his 2 oldest sons take the center. On one side of him, he's got Bittersteel with his forces. On the other side, he has Lord Costane. That's one of the biggest houses that rallied to his cause. So the battle starts. Daemon was unstoppable. He's killing big time knights left and right. He cut Lord Donald Arryn's vanguard to pieces. Uh, he slays a couple of knights of renown, Will Waynwood, and the Knight of Nine Stars. We don't know a whole lot about these guys, but they were big time knights. And then one of the most iconic parts of the battle happens. He gets in a duel that, if other people are to be believed, lasts about an hour with Gwen Corbray. Gwaine Corbray. And Gwaine Corbray is part of the Kingsguard. And one notable part of that is they both have Valyrian steel swords.
Lady
Daemon
Forlorn.
Blackfyre. What's that? Yep.
Lady Forlorn.
Lady Forlorn. Gwaine Corbray has Lady Forlorn. And Daemon, of course, has Blackfyre. And it was two of the top knights in the kingdom fighting each other.
Two of the strongest combatants, for sure.
Yeah. So we see a legendary fight there. After about an hour, Daemon finally wounds him very badly. He blinds him, essentially. But Daemon does something that hurts him in the long run. He stops and basically says, this honorable knight will be injured no more. He stops.
There's so many little moments in this entire rebellion that if anything is done different. But Daemon does the honorable thing. He calls his own maester to help this man that he's wounded in battle.
He gets Red Tusk to take him off the field to his own maester. What's that word? What franchise is this from? Shatterpoints. Is that from Bloodraven, or is that from the Three-Eyed Raven, or is that from Star Wars?
I'm not familiar with the term.
You said there's so many long. There's a term called Shatterpoints, and I think it's, again, I don't remember if it's from Star Wars or from the Three-Eyed Raven, but I'll look that up later. But so that happens. At this point, Bloodraven and his Raven's Teeth, they gain the Weeping Ridge. It's a vantage point above the battlefield. And Bloodraven decides to shoot down Daemon's oldest son, Aegon. Another Aegon, yes. So he shoots him because he knows that Daemon will not leave him hanging. He'll go to him. He shoots. Of course, then Daemon dies. Bloodraven becomes a kinslayer, starting with Aegon, but then he shoots down Daemon with 7 arrows. Right after that, Aemon, Daemon's younger son, picks up Blackfyre, shoots him down as well. So that's Daemon Blackfyre and both of his sons shot down. At that point, Bitter Steel picks up Blackfyre, leads a mad charge. At that point, he finally meets Bloodraven. It finally comes to blows. This simmering rivalry they've had for years.
Since they were kids.
Yeah, but they finally comes to this big duel. The one time Bloodraven actually gets in a sword duel that we see, because he's done a lot of
shadows, yeah.
Right. So he fights Bittersteel. Bittersteel blinds him in one eye, and at that point, it's another, as I say, shatter point. At that point, it could have been. Bittersteel could have led forces and destroyed the rest of them, because Bloodraven's down. Bloodraven is essentially Daeron's general in this battle.
For now.
But then guess who shows up? Right. Guess who shows up? Our old friend Baelor Breakspear, who is Daeron's young son. He comes charging out of nowhere like a hammer. And guess who else shows up? Prince Mirkar. Prince Mirkar, he rallies Lord Donald Arryn's vanguard that had been broken by Daemon Blackfyre earlier. He rallies them and creates an anvil to where Baelor Breakspear's hammer can crush the rest of their forces, the rest of Daemon Blackfyre's remaining forces. So
the hammer and the anvil is a common analogy used in this particular battle because of the way it crushes the rest of the rebel forces. And the loyalists rout them from this point on. They
do crush them, but there are some that escape. and
Most
foremost
notably.
of those is Bittersteel. Yes, most notably. So he escapes. He gathers up the remaining children, the remaining sons of Daemon Blackfyre, and he manages to escape across the Narrow Sea to Essos. I think he went to. It wasn't where. What free city did he go to? Because I know there was a specific city he went to. We know
It
Bittersteel
actually
went
does
to
not actually
Essos.
say a specific city. It just says
Okay.
in the disputed lands in the free cities is where it was founded. But Bittersteel goes
You're
on and
right,
found
okay.
the,
You
the
are
Golden
correct.
Company, which ends
Yep.
up being the largest sellsword company known in the known world. Very famous for burning to death in front of King's Landing in the television series. They didn't bring the elephants that they promised Cersei, or that she wanted, at the very least.
Yeah,
That same Golden Company was
exactly.
found because of the aftermath of the Battle of the Red Grass Field, the final battle of this rebellion, where the rebels were crushed by loyalist forces.
There
Rebels
comes
go.
the high point of this rebellion, the big battle, and I did not know this, that it was a from what I read, this was a bigger battle than any one battle that happened in the Dance of the Dragons. They said it was the biggest battle between Aegon's conquest and Robert's rebellion. I did not know that. I thought for sure one of the Dance of the
Yeah, like
Dragons
maybe like Battle of
battles
the Gullet,
was
or
that.
we'll discuss the battles of Tumbleton at
You
some
would
point.
think,
But
but from what
spoilers.
I read, it was the battle. 10,000 men died on that field for Daemon's vanity. So
A few
that
notable.
that is not.
We've already mentioned a
Yeah,
few
that
notable
puts a pretty.
combatants, though. But Sir Erlen of Pennytree fought in this battle
Yeah.
and lost his squire, his nephew
Hmm.
Roger Pennytree. You see his grave in, I
Yep.
believe, episode 5 of A Night of the Seven Kingdoms.
Yeah.
There will
Yeah.
we will
You got
we will have some season 2 characters that will definitely be referring back to this battle, and this war is something that will be brought up many times during A Night of the Seven Kingdoms, as it is very similarly to how Robert's Rebellion, 15 years before the events of Game of Thrones, set the stage to where there's old tensions, there's people that were on the losing side. So at the end of all of this, this awful battle here at the Red Grass Field, we now face the point where Daeron has to figure out where to go next and by all accounts, Daeron was a good king. You don't get the name Daeron the Good for no reason either. But his solution is to take away titles and take away lands and incomes from some of the houses that stood on Daemon's side during this battle. Oh, we didn't even mention Daemon. Daemon was named after our favorite rogue prince from House of the Dragon. That is who he was named after. But Bloodraven doesn't think that that's the best solution. He believes that we should be taking heads, because if you leave these rebels alive, there's the seeds for the next rebellion. So that is kind of where this Blackfyre Rebellion ends. And that is what leads us into the events of A Night of the Seven Kingdoms. We will discuss more further later down the road topics involving the rest of Daemon's family that has now been in Essos, but we are not there yet, and we do want to keep this one a little spoiler free. We'll do a little bit more deeper one for the real nerds out there at some point. Luke, any other thoughts on the rebellion?
So one small addendum to Daeron's consequences that he laid out, which I won't give anything away, but it'll come into play in season 2 of Night of the Seven Kingdoms. He did take hostages from the major families, like the major lords. He took hostages to ensure their loyalty in the future. I don't know if he took them for 10 years, if he took them for 2, but he basically took royal hostages. This is something we're going to see throughout Game of Thrones, throughout Westeros. We'll see
It's a
them
common
take
thing,
after
yeah.
these battles. We'll see it with Theon Greyjoy was a hostage.
Yeah.
It's like, you start another one, and there goes your remaining son.
It is a way to
And
get
that's
people to
essentially
behave.
what Daeron did. Yeah, and this and thoughts on Daron, like it was mentioned that this seemed harsher than to some people it seemed harsher than something he would do, but in light of the times, in the world he's living in, it was very seemed pretty fair because in his mind he was a good king. Yeah, he had a peaceful reign until then, and he even treated Damon and the Great Bastards. He continued their incomes. He gave them land. He gave them everything he could without letting them have his position. And he was a good king, and these lords just betrayed him mostly out of selfishness and just their own gain. And it's like, well, I've got to do something. It's like I'm not taking your head. And a lot of these lords, he didn't take their entire wealth. Lord Butterwell had 3 castles. He took 2 of them. He left him white walls. He left them a nice castle, and you know, he didn't completely strip them of that. But I think he probably thought enough heads had been taken with Daemon and his sons and Quentin Ball dying, and I think there's a chance he would have taken Bitterstill's head, but Bitterstill escaped. So.
And the realm had been bleeding a lot.
That's
This is like the second major war, basically between Targaryen factions within 100 years, and
the second Targaryen civil war, essentially.
yeah, and it well, maybe not even that. Well, or at least the second in 100 years, because I mean, Maegor against his nephew Aegon and whatnot. There has been several Targaryen disputes. They're not necessarily known for their health of the realm, those Targaryens.
Right.
Any other thoughts, Luke?
I mean,
we could both talk about this topic for a lot more, but
Yeah, I think this is a very important bit of history that we need, and it's before Night of the Seven Kingdoms kind of ramped up, it was a side topic. A lot of people didn't pay too much attention to it, but it means a great deal in the aftermath. In the Night of the Seven Kingdoms, this is fresh, as you said earlier. Just like Robert's Rebellion is fresh on their minds 15 years later, Daemon's, the Blackfyre Rebellion is fresh on their minds, and it continued. Again, won't give too much away.
Seasons 2 and 3, we will have a lot of references to this rebellion. A lot.
Yeah, for generations, and it's so crazy because this whole era, we see some of the really older folks in Game of Thrones. This is within living memory. Some of them were little children or born right around the Blackfyre Rebellion. So it's not that far. It's a long way off, but you think about a lot of us knew our relatives from. I remember a great grandfather I had that was born in 1907, and he died when I was 8 or 9.
I have a great grandmother like that.
I remember him, and he remembered a whole. I mean, everybody. He was an adult during the Holocaust, for example. Exactly. Yeah. So this is kind of the same situation. It's a long time ago for me and Doug, but it's within living memory. Yeah. It's not 400, 500 years ago. So, but that kind of brings me to the end of my thoughts. It was fascinating, and I loved researching this. And again, we'll probably get more into it, but we have other Blackfyre rebellions to possibly cover.
Speaking of other things to cover, me and Luke have figured out our topics for the month of April. And once again, always in the comments, if there is anything in particular you would like to hear, we would love to discuss it. I think after April, maybe sometime in May, we'll start to ramp up towards Hot D Season 3. I kind of want to time it out right so that we can get previews right before the season starts. So maybe we don't rush it right away. Because there's now all this talk about a potential movie or show on Aegon's Conquest, I think we do want to do an episode on Aegon's Conquest, so that'll probably be the first thing that you guys get from us during April. And we can even discuss whether or not we think it could work better as a movie or as a show, and for what reasons we think that. That could be a very interesting episode. However, I do believe that one will be spoiler-centric. If you have not read about the Conquest and do plan on watching the movie and or TV show, whatever that turns out to be. So that one will probably have spoiler tags on it. Following that, we kind of want to do a topic that we were just going to do Maegor the Cruel, who you've heard me mention numerous times. I think is a really interesting time in Westerosi history where the faith is uprising against the Targaryens. But we didn't think we could cover all of Maegor in one episode. But if we stretch it to 2, we decided that we would just do Sons of the Dragon, which includes his brother from another mother, another sister mother. That's a Targaryens. His brother Aenys as well. So that would be covering the reigns of Aenys and Aenys the First and Maegor the Cruel. After that, and this was Luke's idea, and I absolutely love it. So I think we should definitely go along with it. We want to just go a little bit further out into the east, because all of our discussions so far have been all Westerosi central. So we will be discussing Braavos and its origins and what that city means to the greater world of ice and fire. Mixing up the topics a little bit. Again, in the comments, please let us know if there's anything else. We will have you next week for our deep dive on Brienne of Tarth. We got a lot of research to do, a lot of work to do, because we want to make sure that we are as up to date on everything as we can be. Luke, anything else you want to give the people at home?
Not really. Between Brienne of Tarth and all the topics that Doug mentioned in April, we'll have a 2-part episode, 2 episodes on the reign of Jaehaerys the Conciliator.
Me and you are both looking forward to that. Yeah, no, that one's going to be fun.
Yeah.
So we just talked about possibly the worst king in Westerosi history. There we'll be talking about possibly the best king in Westerosi history. So a little bit of a good and bad with the Targaryens.
Yeah. If you guys likes help us a lot on YouTube. If you could just give a quick like, I mean, that it takes 2 seconds, doesn't really cost you much. Likes, I mean, we'd love you to subscribe, but a like just, the more likes, the more views.
Yeah,
we'd love it all.
And I will be getting all the social media pages updated, hopefully this week, to reflect the new name and branding. There might be a couple of weird things, like I think because all of them are signed up with an email with our previous podcast name, there might be some discrepancies here and there, but I will do my best to make sure that you guys have access to everything that we do on the show. Thank you so much for coming in and joining us once again. Please have a good day, you guys. Peace out.
See ya.
Thank you for joining us. Please join us again next week.